I want to welcome everyone here today. It's really such an honor to welcome all of you, both the webinar audience members and my colleagues from Internationals Network for Public Schools, and as well as today's wonderful panelists. My name is Marguerite Lukes. I'm the Director of Research and Innovation at Internationals Network for Public Schools. And today's webinar will present some groundbreaking work in the Internationals Network that schools are engaging in to really move the needle on post-secondary access and post-secondary opportunity for immigrant students who are multilingual learners in U.S. high schools. We want to thank the Carol and Milton Petrie Foundation for their generous support for this work, and we would also like to thank the Carnegie Corporation of New York for making these learning briefs and these webinars possible. Today's conversation will dig deeper into the work presented in a report that we released in January, the second in our learning brief series. And if you just joined, I'd like you to know that this webinar will be recorded. As attendees, we cannot see you. You do have access to a Q&A box. So please, we will be collecting your questions throughout the webinar, and we will answer them at the end during the Q&A question. Before we move on, I would like to introduce my colleagues who are really leaders in the field in the work on post-secondary access for immigrant youth. Dennis, I'll pass it over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Dennis de Guzman-Kindak. I'm the Director of School Support for the Internationals Network, overseeing our programs in New York State. Kalia?
Good afternoon. I'm Kalia Joseph, the Manager for Post-Secondary Readiness here at Internationals. Thank you, Marguerite.
Thank you. So this work, international, first, before we talk about our work, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, Internationals Network designs, develops, and supports public schools and academies for recently arrived immigrant and refugee students. We're the only network of our kind in the United States that focuses on this particular population. We are a national network. We have 4 regional hubs, one in New York City, in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, in LA, and also in the Bay Area. And that's 31 public district schools and academies. And we serve every year nearly 9,000 students from about 124 countries. Our work is grounded in 3 decades of practitioner experience and also research. This is a view of who are the students in our network. They come from all over the world, from all regions and language groups. And the vision that underlies our work is to ensure that all recent immigrant students who are multilingual learners have access to a quality education that prepares them for college, career, and beyond. And our mission is to provide quality public education to recently arrived immigrants by doing what we do, which is growing and sustaining a strong national network of innovative public schools while sharing proven best practices and influencing policies for multilingual learners on a national scale. And what you'll hear about today is some of that networking work and what makes the magic happen of schools sharing with and learning from each other. So what is the big picture of this work? I want to, before we move over into talking to the panelists, I want to talk briefly about our approach to post-secondary readiness and access. So we have used tools to work with schools and exchange ideas in a process that Dennis and Kalia have led. It has involved schools engaging with each other to identify who's involved at the school level in post-secondary readiness, mapping out the process and identifying where are some of the gaps in this and what needs to be shifted to ensure that there's a seamless support system for students, exploring data on college access, and also creating some case studies of students and different kinds of student profiles to understand what some of the journeys are and how to support students of many different types in their post-secondary journeys. And we have created a framework of this work that really goes beyond just simply academic indicators that involves really three intersecting elements: intentional structures at the school level, which you'll hear about today, as well as school culture and programming for students. And together, these intersecting factors sum up to college access and post-secondary readiness of systems that are really equity driven. So I am going to pass it over to Kalia to introduce our panelists for today.
Thank you, Marguerite. So I'm going to call on our panelists to just state their name and what school they're from and their title. I will start with Verena.
Hello, my name is Verena Cabarcas, and I am the founding principal of International Community High School located in the South Bronx.
Thank you. And then Samantha.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Samantha Davis Green. I'm the college advisor at Crotona International High School.
Perfect. Shavani.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Shavani Scott. I am one of the assistant principal at Crotona International High School in the South Bronx.
Thank you. Amela.
Hi, I'm Amela Kusovic. I'm an assistant principal at Pan American International High School at Monroe, also in the Bronx.
Thank you. And finally, Elpidio.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elpidio. I'm a school counselor at Pan American International at Monroe, which is in the Bronx.
Thank you so much. So thank you, panelists, again, for joining us and participating in this webinar. Thank you for everyone that's out there that I can't see. So weird, but we appreciate it. So I'm going to get started. And this is a conversation. We really want you to get an inside look on the work that we're doing. And, you know, again, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Dennis is going to, you know, capture all the questions, and we'll have some time at the end to go over questions. So, Verena, can you tell me, can you describe your school's approach to post-secondary advising? Oh, you're on mute.
Of course. Okay, so it has to start with a belief system, a belief that all immigrant students can gain economic mobility by accessing college and/or vocational certificate programs at community colleges. That has been a driving force for me in my head. And this work is all about getting that out into our school through various peoples in our school. So I want to think a little bit more now about like the different perspectives. I want to talk about an educator's perspective. In order to get this done, an educator has to have this perspective that knowing students and their families well will help them provide the individualized supports that are necessary. Thinking about this also now from a systems and structures perspective, we need to have cycles of continuous improvement with a school-wide approach, because we need to go beyond the traditional public school emphasis of doing this work only perhaps starting it in the 11th grade in the spring semester and then the 12th grade. And also from a systems and structures perspective, in order to do this well with our population, we really need a counselor exclusively devoted to leading our college and career efforts. Also thinking about a principal's perspective, my perspective, which I'll talk a little bit more about, is hiring. Hiring is critical. I really appreciate having the Petrie grant this year, because we have a new college counselor who started last year with us. And this is an opportunity for us to like really get to know each other and really understand what we want our trajectory to be moving forward. So hiring meant that we needed to find a counselor that aligned to our mission and vision, right? And a short way of explaining our mission and vision is that we want to support immigrant teens in becoming informed and strategic advocates for themselves, for their families, and their multiple communities. We all know that the key to success is knowing when to ask for help and knowing who to ask help from, right? So when we're looking for a counselor, we need a counselor who knows that to truly support, oops, I'm in a school. To truly support students, you must know them well as individuals, including all of their responsibilities outside of our school and knowing more about their key relationships with parents, guardians, or others who either financially or emotionally support the student. We want a counselor who can manage a team comprised of part-time alumni who manage a 12-month college engagement process. That means we're working on the college process year-round. And also understanding that one day we haven't gotten there yet, but this is the big plan, that one day we will eventually follow graduates until their 4th semester in college. Because we know that once kids get past that second year, graduation is more likely. What else? We want someone who is eager to team up with other counselors. So those counselors meet their contractual post-secondary readiness responsibilities. We want someone who will team up with our internship coordinator to expand work-based learning opportunities and to collaborate with the many teams within our school to get things done, big projects. And the big committee that they need to definitely collaborate with is our post-secondary readiness team, comprised of teachers representing all grade levels, right, to do things such as sponsor trips, college week events and lessons, career-connected learning in the academic classes, and also contributing to our advisory curriculum. I'll stop there.
If I could ask you one question, Verena, and we'll talk a little bit more, but where are the parents in the process as well?
Our parents are part of getting to know the student and the family as well. So there has to be lots of communication. We have a crew system, that's our advisory. I have 2 pictures right here. There are 2 crews that take place in my office because we need to have small crews, which means we need to expand space. So my office is used for that. And the crew coach is the first point of contact to families. So college and career materials that are going into the classrooms, right? Some of that is discussed during the conferences, right? But the main engine is the counselor. And we're lucky that we have 1 counselor for every team in our school. And they have the post-secondary readiness responsibilities, and they're part of a team with our college and career counselor. And so their outreach to the families, their constant communication with the families, one of the things that we have is that since we have so many counselors, they have to have interactions with students, either in small groups or individual sessions once a month, which is part of the Single Shepherd program that allows us to have this many counselors. So the conversations are happening there. The other major component in terms of family contact is through our enrollment team, which is also comprised of some of our counselors. And that's where the relationship with the parents starts to be built through the enrollment process, through the intake process. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, which is I want to emphasize we are a community school. International Community High School for a reason. So we begin getting to know our families by trying to figure out what resources they need. And that's part of the enrollment process. So that's a way for us to be able to know a little bit more about the student's background, the student's context, in order to better support and connect the families to what school looks like here and what our expectations are for the future. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much. Christy.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I forgot one last thing. Our parent coordinator has been fantastic. We have these Saturday family programs every month where families, now that it's on remote, they drop in anytime between 11 to 1 o'clock. And we have workshops there. And our counselors are doing financial aid workshops, also the college workshops. So those things are also in play. I assume that is system-wide, but anyway.
And we'll talk more about that, about working with parents specifically. Christy, can you have 3-part question, right? Can you tell us about your students at your school? What do students come in thinking about college? What are their ideas, conceptions, misunderstandings around college and career?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Christy. I'm one of the school counselors here at Pais Monroe. And I'm also a part of the post-secondary team. A bit about our students. They're newly arrived immigrants, as most international schools are, but our school is specifically entirely Spanish speaking, and we have students from different countries like Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Spain, Nicaragua, and many more Spanish speaking countries. Our students are English language learners and students with limited or have had interrupted a formal education. Many of our students are either overage or undercredited. Many of our students are also undocumented and a company minor. Many of our students live in temporary housing. And many, even though our students go through these obstacles every day and struggles every day, they still manage to come to school. And they love coming here, right? So some things that our students come in thinking about college, they either think like college is the only pathway in being successful in the United States, or they think that it's not necessary, and they just migrate to this country to work. Many of our students in their home countries, high school would be considered like specialized major. An example, in Honduras, the students are they have carreras, so it's basically like a high school, you're specifically going into the career or the major that you want to work in, and they don't understand the difference that here in the US is elementary school, middle school, high school, then it's college, and then you go into your career field. So having them understand those different ideas. And then some misconceptions and misunderstanding, they think that all colleges are similar, and that they all have the same type of degrees. The costs are either the same. Some question about their eligibility. They question, can they apply to college being undocumented? Some of them fear going to college because they are undocumented and are unable to pay for their cost of attendance. Some just have no idea of how much it costs to attend a community college. An example, it also like living in poverty plays a huge role, because their priority is like, working, paying rent, buying food, and college sometimes is not the way to go, or the idea, their priority. Many also think it's impossible to work and go to school at the same time. They don't know about the flexibility around college and their scheduling. Some of them lack the information about scholarships, right? They're unaware like of the additional work that they have to do to apply to these scholarships. They think like, okay, I'll just submit an application, but they don't have they don't have the additional information where they have to write additional essays and have like, letter of recommendations. And then some of them fear, like for those that do qualify, some of them fear for dorming. Parents also don't want their child to live away from home. Some students don't want to go away and have that huge change in their life again. They already migrated from their home country, and then it's a struggle. They fear to leave their home and then have to live in school. Also, parents fear they're sharing information about their immigration status or their tax information. And students also think that they're gonna have someone to advocate for them in college. So having all these misunderstandings and having to clarify all these misunderstandings and concepts require long conversations and one-on-one meeting with our students.
I was going to ask you, actually, how are you having these long conversations? Where are they taking place? I know you said one-on-ones. How else is your school set up for you to work with seniors?
So our students, we tend to give them a lot of time. And when I mean about time, I mean giving them the attention where it's either a one-on-one conversation with one of the counselors, or even our school social worker, or even admin. Sometimes we need admin to, step in and have a conversation with certain students. We also have the 1 hour class, a college class, sometimes we have group conversations. And then we try to give the students the individual time and then make their question, have them be heard. You know, sometimes it's just a matter of time, giving them time to explain like their misunderstanding. I don't know if Mello or Epidio want to add.
I would just add that it starts in 9th grade, right? Like the second they walk through the door, during their registration process, we have counselors there getting to know them. Our counselors work together, even though they're responsible for different grade levels. They like pass on, they meet frequently, they pass on information about the students so that we really get to know them well by senior year. And the family knows us well and they trust us with that information. Whereas they didn't when they first came in through the door.
Can I ask a question, Amela? Maybe you have the answer to this, or even Barena. Really quick question: how are you as admins, and Chevany as well as admins for schools? Are you allocating, or how are you allocating time for teachers and counselors and staff to get to know parents? Because I know that can be, you know, it's a lot of phone calls and calling again and calling another time. Are there any challenges with that, or how are you allocating time to your staff to do that?
Sure, I can start. Well, contractually, 40 minutes a week. Every single teacher has to engage in family engagement, so that helps. The other thing that we do is that we actually consolidate all our conferences into one day. And that helps create like a full day of focus for our staff to make contact now that everything's remote with our families. I also pay our teachers 3 hours per session 4 times a year to do outreach to families. When we have the mandated family conferences, they either use those hours to make appointments before or after school, or to actually have appointments for the families that couldn't make that specific day afterwards. So those are some of the ways that we go about that. When we were in person, we hold these Saturday programs where kids can come in as early as 10 o'clock. They have to leave at 3, and the families were dropping in anywhere between 11 to 3. And we will also have a luncheon with them. And families could drop in at any time. And that's a way for families to also engage with the teachers that were here working with their own children, or if their children weren't here, they could still engage with the parent, with the teachers, or if they needed to talk to me, I would be in a specific place downstairs, and I would take a line, would form outside, and I would be talking to people, or AP would do that as well. So those are some ways that we have our teachers connecting with our families, but our counselors are also part of those opportunities. They're crew coaches as well, so they reach out to their crew as well during those conference times.
Perfect. I'm gonna, in the interest of time, just go move to the next question. Chevany, since we are talking about families, how does family background and experience impact students' understandings and expectations about college? And then what's the initial communication about college and life after high school? What does it look like? What does it look like, and where does it happen?
Great question, Kalia. So I'm going to start off with the first question about how does family background impact student understanding expectations. There are several different factors, but I'm going to start with the difference in like diversity, cultures, and ideologies. As an international school, not only are our student population diverse in culture, but it's also diverse in ideologies. And what I mean by that is that our students originate from various backgrounds, and there are some deep root traditions that are passed down to our students, where it's this concept or this notion that male students have to take care of the household, they're to work to provide for the families, and then females are the ones who are basically taking care of the children. We see this concept live within our students every day, and how it plays an instrumental factor in their academic life and post-secondary decisions, where our male students want to prioritize work because they feel they have to provide for their families. And then we have the female students who more are interested in post-secondary enrollment. Not only is the difference in belief and ideology, but also the countries where the students are originated from. And what we see most commonly in our schools is that students who are specifically from Central America, they come with some formal of informal education, so they're SLIFE, and they see work as more important than post-secondary education. So they come to this country for a better opportunity. They want to work. They're not so much interested in post-secondary education. And so we are we're grappling with trying to encourage them that how meaningful is post-secondary education, what's the impact, which giving them different options and showing different outcomes. And we also see with our African continent students is that they're the ones who are more focused on the medical profession fields. They come headstrong, they're ready to apply for college, they're ready to take on a journey. And then with our Asian students, we see a combination of both, where some just want to work and some wants to go to college. So we're always grappling with the differences, but essentially what we do is we work head on, forefront our families to educate them. We bring them in, we have one-on-one meetings. We have different sessions like parent workshops where the college advisor, parent coordinator, and our work-based learning coordinator is meeting with families to go over what financial aid is, what is college, why is it meaningful for their children, and explaining, because as I think Christy said, sometimes families are fearful of providing documentation. So the more they understand the process and we're meeting them on a regular basis, they feel more comfortable to share those information with us. The next thing is, because most of our students, our families do not have higher education, and our students see their family thriving off of blue collar positions, they feel, okay, I want something that's quick. I want something that's sustainable where I can be able to provide for my families. And so they opt in for vocational schools. They opt in because I want to just be a barber. Like, I don't want to go to college. I'm not interested. I just want money because I have to provide for my family. So that's always our fight with our students. And so we have to put in different systems to support our families. And the number one priority is educating our families so they know the process, they understand the reason behind the work that we do every day.
Sorry. You remember? Okay.
The next question, I believe you asked the initial communication. So thankfully for our work with the College Access Work and Pear Tree Foundation and the Thought partnership, we have now this year implemented College and Career and WBL together. We integrated that into our curriculum. So our 9th and 10th graders, right off the bat, as soon as they enter our schools, the moment they enter our doors, they are introduced to college and post-secondary education. Our college advisor and WBL coordinator do have a curriculum that they integrated together. So our students are learning the fundamentals of college, right? They're learning what is college versus vocational, what is CUNY versus SUNY, 4-year, 2-year. They're learning about tuition and grants and scholarships. So we're feeding them with the fundamentals. And on top of that, we're including the parents in these conversations that we're having. So all stakeholders are looped in. Students are doing career interest surveys. They're learning what they like to do and what careers are aligned to that. What are the salary that's aligned to that as well? And so they're also building their employability profiles, right? They're learning how to write a resume. They're building their personal statements. We're introducing them to college fairs and college tours. We also have a program called Peer Group Connection, PGC, where our 11th and 10th, 12th grade students are meeting with our 9th and 10th graders, our new students, to talk about college and their experiences that they have as 11th and 12th graders and upperclassmen. So our new students, 9th and 10th graders, are not only getting support from our staff, but they're getting peer support through the PGC program. And so with all of that we're teaching them in the younger grades, they take that with them to 11th and 12th, right? Now they're applying what they learn. They're doing SATs, they're doing College Now classes. We partner with Equity Lab. And so we do offer college classes that are embedded in our regular schedules. So students have multiple opportunities to take college classes. They're also taking College Now classes like with Lehman and Hostos, and they're getting various experience and exposure. And to tie that with what they're learning. So our 11th grade teacher has a project called Pathways to Adulthood. And our students are, they're exploring different careers, salaries, and tied into that assignment, students are interviewing staff members. So they're finding out what our positions are, how much we make, what college we attended, and they're using data and they're formalizing data to make a decision of what pathway should I go? What should I think about? What career should I choose, and learn about their salaries, et cetera. So that's a great way how we tied in to 11th grade. And then of course, 12th grade, they're ready. College team is working with them. They're doing internships, they're getting paid, they're applying to college. We're having college fairs, we're having college tours. And again, we're bringing back into the families as volunteers. So we do have our families come in as volunteers for our college tours and also our parent workshop. So for our younger families, we have our 11th and 12th grade families that serve as like a coach or a peer for 11th, 9th, and 10th graders.
Thank you so much. I want to just throw out a little question that anyone can answer. And I know my experience when I was in the classroom in schools, you know, sometimes it's senior year and that's when you find out a student might be undocumented. Sometimes the student is unaware of their immigration status. And so, you know, obviously we work with a large undocumented population. And I guess I would want you all to just maybe speak to, and this can be just one person, anyone that feels comfortable. When are you finding out a student's status? Is it often senior year? And, you know, maybe speak to some of the supports or lack thereof, you know, just some of the challenges that come with that. I'll call on someone.
It depends on, sorry. It depends on the student. Some students we find out right away during registration. Other students we find out, typically we find out by 11th grade when we start doing specific workshops with 11th graders and we start speaking about, you know, what does it mean to be undocumented? And when we start asking for documents, because of the fear with the documents, we tend to ask them a lot sooner, right? Like we don't really need the documents until the fall semester of their senior year, but we start asking for it in the spring of the 11th grade semester because they just did their taxes, right? Like, so they should have it on hand, ready to go. And it takes a while for them to get them in. So we try to have those conversations at least a year ahead so that they're prepared. And we also have the conversations prior to enrolling students for College Now courses. Because the students who are eligible for the College Now courses, if they are undocumented, we do take a little step ahead to encourage the undocumented ones to continue through with the program and emphasize that they're going to save a lot more money in the end because they're going to have to pay some part of their tuition later on. So if they could save some with free courses in high school, why not, right?
Yes. And just to clarify for the participants that I can't see, for those of you that are not in New York, College Now is our dual enrollment program with CUNY. And so as Amela is saying, undocumented students, this is an advantage for them to be able to take College Now, which are college credit courses that they can transfer once they are matriculating students. So, you know, as you said, this could be a way to save money. So I'm gonna keep moving.
Can I add one thing?
Go ahead, Brina.
Okay, so one of the things that I realized is that our students need to understand that because we live in New York State, our counselors have the privilege of complete confidentiality with them unless, there are a few situations, right? So one of the things I did this year was I took one of our paraprofessionals who speaks French and Arabic. I covered the Spanish and the English, and we went around and we described to every single crew group that what the role of the counselor is and how they can go to the counselor for anything that's confidential, especially around immigration status, because there are resources that the college counselor can provide if that is a situation that the student is facing. And of course, I would say that I'm never to know because I'm an administrator. Teachers do not need to know, but your counselor can know, because even if ICE comes knocking at the door, the counselor is protected by New York State law and does not have to tell ICE about the status of the student. So legally, no one's supposed to ask, but I want the kids to know that they can choose to tell their counselor and that they're protected because they live in New York State.
That's great. I just want to say that you all did that this year. I think that's amazing to just keep making sure that students are comfortable and are know that there's somebody at the school that they can trust and really come to. My next question is for you, Brina. What do the staff in traditional high schools misunderstand or need to know about ELs and multilingual learners and college? What biases have you encountered about multilingual immigrant students in college that have shifted your school and community?
These are pretty intense questions. Okay, so in terms of misunderstanding, we all have misunderstandings about each other, ourselves, everyone, right? So I'm just going to concentrate on like, what do they need to know? Again, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. College degrees and/or vocational certificate programs in the community colleges are actually possible regardless of immigration status. That's what they need to know, right? And we're always asking teachers to differentiate instruction within our heterogeneous setting, and counselors, right, also need to do the same, because they need to understand the individual academic, social, emotional, and post-secondary planning needs. And like I said before, this begins with our enrollment process. Our enrollment team members begin building strong relationships with our families through the introduction of a variety of different services that our community school provides, especially the health clinic downstairs, and all the supports for students in temporary housing, especially many of our students who are asylees, refugees, right? They qualify for this. Also, our team administers a home language literacy assessment, which we have found to be the best indicator of the kinds of supports a student will need to graduate, and not just graduate with a post-secondary plan geared towards economic mobility. We live in New York State. We have the nicest lot. Kids could be new to the English language, but one is much more proficient in their home language than the other. And although we look at the test scores and they're scoring at the same level, so that doesn't really give us the information we need to truly provide a better experience for kids who need to accelerate a whole lot more. These assessments have been, for us, really important in two different ways. In any given year, about 25 to 35% of our students are arriving at or above grade level in their home language. And most of the students and their families already expect that their child will attend college. It's very few families that we need to push to let their kids go to college when they're testing at this level. The big debate there is, can they go to college nearby or far away, right? And then the counselor deals with that by knowing the family and the student well. The remaining 65 to 75% of our students are arriving between pre-K. Yes, you heard it, pre-K to 7th grade level within their literacy level in their home language. They will need additional differentiated academic and counseling supports within the regular school day, and with the same exposure to college and the career-going culture that the students who are arriving at or above grade level are also getting. And with this population, of course, whenever possible, because many need to work, right, an extended day or an extended year program is offered. What do they need to know? They need to know that emphasis on all, students and families need support understanding the 9th through 12th grade process to get to, enroll, and remain in college, right? And I gotta say, the best people who do that in our school are alumni staff. I am proud to say that we employ about 17 graduates from either INPS schools or consortium schools. We're part of these two different organizations. And also our featured alumni guests who come and visit throughout the year. They play a key role in making students see that this is truly attainable. So please focus on that alumni network. And also, whenever possible, hire alumni who are at different stages, right, in the college process, in the career path. We have a teacher here, a special ed teacher who graduated from the First International High School. My assistant graduated as well from our school. So what else? It's really interesting, but since we have so many alumni visiting and working here, they get to tell me what they wish they had back then that our kids have now. So let me just outline these three major things that I wish I had known then. And that is, now our students have access to many more early college courses within our school, not just outside. So for example, my assistant graduated as the valedictorian in 2018. He had no college credits. But 2 years later in 2020, when we did a really great move and establishing better partnerships beyond college now, our valedictorian graduated with, 16 college credits, saving him tons of money, right, in college. The other thing that our alumni wish they had, that our kids now have, is career-connected learning experiences within the regular academic classes. Right before coming here, I was observing our math teacher, and he was doing a career-connected lesson. He gave kids a chart of all these different careers. Kids got to explore them, explore the amount of earnings, and then they had to figure out what kind of housing they can actually sustain. It's a long-term project. There's much more to it, but it's fantastic to see that purposefully and intentionally being done. The alumni love seeing that. And then the other thing that we have now that we didn't have then was paid work-based learning opportunities available throughout a 12-month period, not just September through June. And what we have found is that the paid internships at either minimum wage or through stipends, they go a very long way in helping students persist in high school, despite the many academic, economic, and social emotional challenges that they're navigating on a day-to-day basis. Kalia, can you please repeat the second question?
We're gonna skip the second question. Okay. And go into, it was, Elpidio, maybe, no, we'll skip that question for now. And maybe we'll find some time to go back to it. Elpidio, I wanna just ask you, I'm gonna switch up your question. How is all this work getting done? Because it's a lot of work. Counselor. So it's a two-part question. Maybe if you could share how many students are on your caseload and how are you managing your time? How are you getting this done?
So on my specific caseload this school year, I believe it's around 64 students. But the way that I do my best to manage it is to just follow the school culture. So we try to develop a culture here where it's welcoming, it is empathetic, it is collaborative, and it is equitable for everybody. Because we understand that our parents rely on us for a lot of things. They're new here. They need help navigating through the systems, not just in school, but out of it. And they come for us because they rely on our support so that they can achieve their goals, which at the end of the day is also our goal, that they achieve their goals. So we do our best to check in. And I think it is important to show interest, not just in the application, because when it's time to do that, the college application or any post-secondary application, you want all hands on deck. But it is also important to do those check-ins when a student is absent, when a student is late, when you're upstairs in the cafeteria and you see a student sitting by themselves. We don't want our students to feel, or our families to feel isolated, or that they're not being supported. So we do offer things as a school. We offer tutoring, we offer Saturday school, we offer days during the breaks, we offer summer school. we're pretty much available 24/7 when it comes to questions for our families and for our students. But at the end of the day, we know that even though we make ourselves available, we do our best to check in order to provide that assistance that we know that our families need. Because we know at the end of the day that there are a lot of obstacles that are already here, established, and that come as every new day comes through with all the new things that arise in our city, in New York State, in New York City. So we know that it is a very difficult challenge for our parents. So we do our best to support them in any way possible, because we know that they come here with a purpose. They come here they move here because of the opportunities. They have dreams. They're inspired to accomplish stuff, and we're a part of it. And we like to promote collaboration here, and we also like to involve our parents in that work.
You sound like you offer great customer service. I gotta tell you, this is a part of it. That's how I always look at it.
No, yeah, I think, you know, I don't, the last thing that I want our parents to feel when they come into our school is to feel like that they got to deal with something else. You know, I know that they come in here and they come looking for assistance, and that's what we're here to do. Because at the end of the day, we're in the line of people. Like, we work with people, and we know that the mental health is big. It is growing, and it's, you know, the awareness is growing and it's becoming more popular. So we're doing our best to support our parents, because we know that where a lot of our kids come from, they don't have that support. And when they come here, it's difficult to ask for it, because sometimes it's not seen as, like, you know, it's something that we should ask. But it's a lot of people that play a role in this. It's not just the counselors, it's the school aides, it's the parent liaison, it's administration, it's the teachers. It's every single person that walks into this building that they have an impact on our family. They have an impact on our kids here. Teachers do their role. Like, they might not know it, right? Some might know it. New teachers might not know it, but the veterans do know. They chaperone trips. They write letters of recommendation. They talk about their own experiences navigating through the college process. Those are things that our kids are not exposed to in their countries, that they come here and it's a new perspective. And it's like, oh, wow, look, this person went through it. They're sharing their story with me. And maybe I relate to what they're going through, or they relate to what I've been through. So there's a lot of collaboration. We encourage a lot of collaboration here because we know that it is needed.
Thank you so much for that. So I'm gonna keep moving. Samantha, can you tell us about the timing of your college process? You know, speaking of just workflow, what's intentional? What processes do you do with students and why? And how did looking at your own structures for post-secondary access lead to improvements? And are you?
Yes. Oh, I thought you were gonna ask a question. Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Did you want to share your screen? I know you.
I sure did. Yes, I do.
I think you should be able to.
All right. So I am a visual learner like our students are, and please excuse the background noise. And here it goes. I'm going to share this. All righty. So this is a little timeline that helps me every year. I've been adding to it over time, making it bigger, and it's been growing every single year. And this is what I've been using thus far. So I'm just gonna go over it with you guys to go over what my timeline is. Before they get to 9th grade, we have the students do a summer bridge. Those students who are already here in the country, most times it's the students who come from middle school and are transitioning into high school. I just got here maybe a few months before they're going to high school. So we have a bridge for those students. Then during the 9th grade year, the freshman year, here is their checklist. And this is my roadmap that I keep up in my office so the kids can see like where they have to be at. We want them to get to know the school community. We have them create College Board accounts. We have them take career and personality assessments, join after-school activities and sports, volunteer in the community, take the PSAT, join a CBO, join an internship, and write a letter to their 12th grade self. Now, these are only a few things in the growing list that we have for the students, but we want them all to like think of this as like a guideline or a guide map to what they can do. What I want to emphasize here is the join an internship component. That wasn't something that we pushed in the past. We didn't have that option for everyone, but this year and last year as well, we had that option for students through our WBL collaboration, where we can have students at all grades join an internship and get a job. That's been one of the not issues, but blocking points that we've had. We have a lot of students who, like we talked about before, who come out and say, I don't have paperwork, what do I do? And this is a big thing that we're pushing this year. And we've enrolled about maybe close to 100 students this year alone in internships and volunteer opportunities, and they are getting paid for them, both documented and undocumented students. So we're having that start from the 9th grade and pushing that more as they go. In the sophomore year, 10th grade year, they're creating their resumes, they're going to college fairs, doing the same thing as freshman year, but just a little bit more. Now we're pushing the college access piece as well. They're taking College Now courses and they're applying for AP and honors courses. 11th grade, they are updating their resumes. Basically every year they're just going into and just making it a little bit better as they go. But we are pushing the college piece throughout every year. That's a big thing for us because, like Ms. Chevy said before, our students come, depending on where they're from, with different mindsets. Some think about going to college, some think about going to work. This roadmap is meant to give them access to both options. We want you, why can't you do both? Why can't you go to college and work? There should not be something stopping you from doing either of those, undocumented or not, familiar responsibilities or not, male or female. Why should anything stop you from completing any of these things? In their senior year, this is the shortest list, but it's the shortest list because they've been doing so much the first 3 years. They're tired now. So by the time 12th grade comes, that's where the real work comes in. But looking at your first 3 years or first 2 years or however long you've been in this country, you've done most of that work already. So by 12th grade year, just finding what you have in your Google Drive and putting on applications, putting all the info down and just clicking apply. That's it. The only thing that you really have to do 12th grade year, honestly, is their financial aid. Because prior to 12th grade, we have them do mock CUNY applications, mock SUNY applications, where they're filling out all the information on this application so that they have it come 12th grade. So there's no looking for schools, or you're only adding. You're not researching anything, you're just adding to the list that you already created in your first 3 years. That's probably the easiest year, quote unquote, the easiest year for us, but it's a plan and it's been working and it's been growing every single year. This becomes bigger. I think I only had 3 bullet points last year, and now I have more that came from this page. So it's a process that takes time, and that we've all said starts from our 9th grade, even before 9th grade. We have to get that college going mindset in them from day one. And within my classes, I also teach as well. I do the college and career class, but I was also, and still am, a teacher. It's not just college and career planning. We're also life planning. We find that students sometimes they're thinking about college, yeah, but they're also thinking about their life beyond that. And in this year more so, I've seen that more heavily, and getting them so prepared for college and doing classes and being a great student. Yeah, but outside of that, our kids are a little bit unprepared. So this year we've really integrated the life planning piece, where I take students now to the bank to open the bank accounts now. They're getting their state IDs now. Things that we would never think that they needed until senior year. I'm having them do it a lot earlier now. It's getting them ready for that next step in life. Why is it only for college we plan for? We're having them doing co-op tech internships now. Not internships, excuse me, co-op tech, where it's a program here in New York where students, it's a vocational program where students can do a half day of school, the first part, second part of school, depending on what they want, and then go to a separate location and work on a vocation, whether it's mechanical, electrical, barbering, nail tech, CNA, eye technician, dental assistant. There's so many options out there. We have students that I know from day one, Miss, I don't want to go to college, it's only an option for me. Okay, it's an option for you. Well, why can't this be as well? We're doing the whole shebang pretty much. It's not just college and career, it's life planning as well. Yes. And as a college and career advisor, working with WBL team, having an entire college access to, which is what we have this year, I can see now that it's a huge process and it's growing every day, and we're doing our best, but it's working. We have a lot of obstacles in terms of undocumented students, but we're making it work. And the outcomes this year have been really great. One with this roadmap with where they've achieved. We have a student this year who applied to 35 schools, and she's undocumented, and she got into about 4 so far. And one today gave her $35,000. But that's with her starting from last year. And they gave her that knowing what her status was. So there's options out there for our kids, just giving them the opportunity to do it.
Samantha, can you tell us the name of the school?
Which school?
The school that awarded the student $35,000.
Manhattan College in the Bronx, New York.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I love the baby. So moving on to our last question, and then we'll go into Q&A. So please keep the questions coming. We've been answering a few of them, and then Dennis will we'll have some time at the end with Dennis, but we'll answer more of the Q&A questions. So Amela, you're gonna close it out for us. What has been the most impactful in supporting students who previously haven't expressed an interest in college? I'll start with that question first.
Yeah. I mean, there's various things we do that gets kids on board throughout. And I thought about this question, but I'm really thinking about something we do here, which is we don't have a dean. So instead of a dean to deal with discipline, we actually admin and counselors, we all work together for that. And you know, typically it's the kid who's always in your office who's like, I don't want to go to college, right? So those moments where we're having, what's going on? What do you like to do? Like, we start questioning them when they are here with us, when they get that chance to be one-on-one with us, and we start planting little seeds in their brain, right? Like, it could be the one boy who's coming in once a week, like, oh, what'd you learn about? What'd you learn about? And then they start coming back and asking us questions about college. Alumni are huge. We have an alumni day. They come and talk to each individual class. They sit in a circle, and it's like a conversation, and kids get to ask them whatever they really want to know. And also what Brenna said, like having alumni working in the school makes a huge impact as well. And letting the kids know also that we're going to support them even after they graduate, and that we'll always be available for them. I think that gives them a level of comfort, knowing that they still have a home to come back to if they're struggling to navigate the world outside. I would also say student and parent workshops. So in the 11th grade, we sit with each class and we really go into depth. And like, we show them statistics about salaries and degrees, and you know, all the availabilities with majors. That's when a lot of kids are like, oh wow, I didn't know I could do all that. And campus tours, those are huge. When we go to campus tours and when they actually get to eat the food on campus, for some reason, that's a huge game changer. And they're like, oh, this is something I could deal with. We've been on trips where we haven't been able to give them like the campus food. And those trips, they haven't been as open to going there for some reason. So like, food is a big thing for them. And they want to know, they know that they want comfort when they go to college. And it's very interesting how that works, but that plays a huge role.
And then Amala, could you just maybe, and I know you might bring Elpidio into this question, what do colleges need to know about new immigrant students who graduate from U.S. high schools?
Yeah. I heard something recently that really upset me, that our kids are probably not capable of navigating the college world. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. They really just need someone to guide them in the right direction. Our kids are very resilient. They're able to speak 2 languages. They're literate in both languages. They have worked in groups for the last 4 years. So they know how to work with people that they disagree with, right? They know how to work on critical thinking, tough projects. They know how to compromise. What they really need is someone to navigate them through a college campus. They need an advisor who will give them a little more attention, because they don't have the experience of, my parent went to college. My parent knows what FAFSA is. My parent knows what the bursar's office is, right? Oh, my brother, he just did his FAFSA. I just need to add mine to his or something, right? Like they don't have that. And I think a strong advisor who can help them maneuver things is important, right? Like I'm also an immigrant, and I was the first one in my family to go to college, and I had an advisor that like brushed me off very often. And I ended up taking a course that was so hard. And like, if she had just given me the time, I wouldn't have gone through all that stress, right? Like if she had given me the time, I would have had much better grades. She would understand where I'm coming from. I think colleges need to understand that our students are still very tied into their cultures. Right? Like they have familial responsibilities that are affecting their grades. I used to go home every weekend freshman year and my grades were terrible. And the less I went home, the better my grades got, because I ended up helping with chores, babysitting, right? Like doing family events when I should have been studying. So I learned that the hard way. But if like advisors know that, like if they know where you're coming from and they know how to help you navigate that, I think that's essential. For me in particular, the HEOP program helped a lot, the opportunity program. That helped me navigate everything. Like I knew where I was going day one. I had friends. I knew what office to go to for what. I think if immigrant English language student learners like had access to more opportunity programs, that would be ideal for them, for sure.
Thank you. Peter, you want to add anything? What colleges need to know?
Yeah, I think it's also a lot of things change for people from June to September, from when they graduate high school to when they start college. And sometimes that means that priorities can change as well, which means that the student might have applied to college with maybe thinking, I'm going to last 4 years here and I'm going to possibly go get my master's after and possibly a PhD, or I'm going to get a specific type of job in a specific field. And then things can happen and things might change and they might need a quicker career choice or a different career choice, something that can help now as opposed to waiting down the line, because it's not just the college application process and receiving a degree. There's also then applying for a job, a position, and what does that mean? And understanding and learning about volunteering and being an intern, and what does that really mean for our students? And do they have the time? Do they feel like they have the time or the ability to do that because they have all these needs that are coming from home as well? These things that are kind of saying, hey, we need you more now, as opposed to like waiting for more 6 or even 8 years down the line. So I think, like Amela said, if there's and it comes from here too, it's just like the constant like checking in and just like meeting our families where they're at. If there's a way to better meet where our students are coming in when they go into college, to meet them where they're at and reevaluate, all right, what's the situation? What are you looking for? And how can we best support you when they enter college, so that they can all have a better understanding of what the student needs to be successful there.
Thank you so much. So this was great. Anyone else want to add any last thing before Dennis goes into question and answers? But I want to thank the panelists again for participating. Last
Can I
thought?
actually add something?
Sure.
To what Elpidio just said about June to September, how integral it is. With the 11th graders and the 12th graders, I tell them after that year, after 11 ends and 12 ends, do not go away. Don't vacation, don't go home, stay here. Because those opportunity programs that we have here in the city, SEEK, College Discovery, HEOP, and EOP, all have summer components. And those are only for our 12th graders. For our juniors, the 11th graders who are rising 12th graders, there are so many bridge programs like Yale, Syracuse, NYU. They do summer programs for juniors who are going to be seniors for 3 weeks that you can dorm on campus, live the college experience, and do it for free. if you get into the program, but you have to be here. And many of our students, families plan ahead and buy tickets to vacation. Oh, you're going home. But once you forfeit that seat, that's it. You lose your opportunity program. You're losing your opportunity to get into Syracuse or Yale because you went back home to see family. Even though it's important, we understand that we have to find a balance somewhere where you can do these things. So that's super important. The process does not end in June. It ends on day one when you start college. It doesn't end before that.
Thank you so much for that, Samantha. Dennis, I'll let you take it away.
Great, thank you so much. It's been a great session so far, and we have some questions from our audience members and participants. And I want to start off with our admin on the panel. So that would be Verena, Amela, and Shavani. So the question that came up is, you already described a little bit of how you support teachers' time to get to know families and students. Are there specific structures in your school that allow for further conversations among staff, talk about supports for families and students? Could you name some of them? Again, that question can go to either Verena, Amela, or to Shavani.
We have PTA nights where essentially every team of teachers, discipline-wise, is expected to come and join the PTA, meet with the parents, answer any questions, get to know them, have some fun with them, introduce some of their curriculum to them, and just like being with them. So we have that expectation every year, and it's always a good time. It's always a great time for parents to learn from the teachers and teachers to learn from the parents.
Yeah, I also want to add with our school leadership team, our SLTs, where our parents are able to join, and we discuss like school systems, any updates, any events that we're having, any concerns that parents want to lift up during that time. And so their teachers are able to join, our UFT chapter leader, just to provide parents with those supports that they need. Additionally, we have our ESL classes on Saturdays, and sometimes our counselors do make themselves available to come in on Saturday if we have parents that are not able to meet during the week.
The next question I want to pose out there, it can go to Samantha, Elpidio, or Christy. The question is, how one challenge that one of our audience members has is when assisting with college application when the student has out of the country high school transcripts. Any tips on that, addressing that?
Yes, start getting them translated early as possible, because the process is tedious. The CUNY system, which is the public school system here in New York for colleges, they allocate funds for principals to have their documents that are foreign translated. No matter how many students, just send them in to translate them, but it takes time to get done, especially when we have students are from non-Spanish speaking countries where the language is like caricatures, like it's Cantonese or Arabic or whatever the case may be, or Bangla. It takes longer to translate. So start translating them from early. And sometimes when it takes too long, you just end up doing it in-house because you have people on staff who can translate for you. But we already know, once we get them like that, okay, translate them. Because chances are they're going to ask them for the original language because they want to know. Because most of the time we just give our students credit for the classes, but colleges want to see actual numeric grades. Just translate them.
The next question again can go with same panelists, right? So Samantha, Elpidio, and Christy. How do you support students who are not interested in college and post-secondary planning? So that's the first question. And the follow-up would be, how do you best support your students who may be choosing to apply to college sometime after they graduate from your school? So you're talking about your alumni who maybe didn't choose to attend and apply at first, and now after maybe a year or two working, they're like, I think I want to go to college. And I know for a fact that many of your alumni come back to you for that support. So anything you want to share on that end in any of those questions?
I'm sorry, Dennis, I didn't hear the first part of the question.
Sure. The first question is, how do you support students who are not interested in college in post-secondary planning? And the second follow-up would be if the students or your alumni choose to apply sometime after they graduate from your school.
So in regards to supporting students who are not interested in going to college, like again, we have these one-on-one conversations, and an example, we've had students who work with a family member, like they'll go with a family member either to a mechanic shop or support the family member with whatever job the family member may have. We have some students who like music, so they have cousins who produce music. So we'll have like these one-on-one conversations and share with the students like, okay, these are certain programs that you can possibly go to. For example, like the mechanic job, there's I don't want to mistake the program, but it's the SUNY EOC program. Sharing with the students that there are specific programs where they don't have to go directly into college, but they could take out a certificate or a license based on their interest. And then regarding to students who graduated and want to go to college afterwards, I make it a requirement for all my seniors. I tell them like, listen, you have to apply. The reason I say that is because your application is valid for a year. So if you don't go into college this first fall semester, you definitely have some time, 3 to 4 months before January, before spring semester comes, and you can think about if you really want to go to college. Otherwise, you're gonna have to do the whole process by yourself. So a lot of them get shook, and then it's like, oh, okay, like I'll definitely do the application. I try to push my students to do the application. I haven't experienced a senior graduating without applying at least to CUNY or a community college. But if in case that does ever happen, I'm always open hands and willing to help my students. I don't mind helping them in applying if that's what they really want to do.
If your scare tactic doesn't work.
Yeah.
In the end, you're here. Can I just add, Dennis? I know some folks have asked about undocumented students, and a lot of these programs are open to undocumented students. Where it gets a little gray is that, paying for it, many students will have to pay out of pocket. And then where it also can get a little gray is license. So depending on the program, depending on the certification, that's where, if it's something that's federally funded, unfortunately, undocumented students will probably not be able to receive a license or even attend that program. But I know there are people from different states, some programs, many programs in New York, students can attend.
Can I add to that, Kalia?
Sure.
In terms of the undocumented programs, or rather colleges, universities for our students. So this year, I've seen like in our younger grades, we have a huge influx of undocumented students, like huge, like normally it's big, but this year it's very big. But amongst our seniors, we still have a good amount as well. For those students, from what I know, what we've seen here in the Internationals Network, the most monetary support that we get for those students surprisingly comes from private schools, not from the public schools. The CUNY schools do have their grant that they pay for all the students to attend a CUNY school for free with that funding, but it takes forever to come through. But they have the grant there. But the private schools are the ones that have been funded, because even on a Common App, when you apply, it asks, are you a Dreamer? Are you undocumented? Are you a DACA student? They give you the option for that. So there's way, way more options out there for private schools for undocumented students. It just so happens that a lot of times those students don't want to leave because they've, re-met with their families for the first time in years. They don't want to go so far, which leaves them at the CUNY systems. But there's options for them in either avenue. In the last few years, I think the US has wised up to the population and who we have now. And there's so many more programs and access out there. Just a matter of looking, and not even that, just asking. And there's always help there.
So much. I know we had some questions that were being posed in our Q&A. And I know we have limited time left for our webinar. And so we will be answering your Q&A through the chat if we're not able to bring them up to the panel right at this moment. So I want to give it to Marguerite to help us close out for our session for today. And we want to thank our guests and panelists for our time together.
Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. Thank you, panelists. I'm so inspired. I could listen to you for the next 3 or 4 hours. That just such innovative and such important work that you're doing. I want to remind everyone, all the attendees here, to check out our learning briefs. I had posted a minute ago in the chat some of the questions there. We got some questions here about how are students doing in college? How's retention? What about success? And we will be actually exploring some of these questions in our next learning brief, which will be coming out in the spring. So we encourage you to go to our website and sign up for our newsletter and follow the work that these fabulous educators are doing. And thank you, everyone. And you'll get a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar. Will also be up probably next week online. And we're really grateful to everyone. Thank you all on behalf for the fabulous work that you do.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Take care.